Welcome back. So here's the aftermath of last week's little mishap. As you can see there, the tube got kind of like a little bit mushroomed and squashed and stretched and basically snapped. And Mark did a good little sort of analysis over the weekend to see why it did it, and it's basically because it was never designed to handle the whole weight of the aircraft. It was designed just so it could lift up and put down the gear, and then when the gear's in over center, it locks in, can support all the weight. So fortunately we had this other one that we'd done that was had a mistake in it, but not where this bar is, so we're actually going to take that and just replace that one section, and I'm going to head over to Brits at some point here this week and get that done. So in the meantime, I also went ahead and labeled everything here, so this won't happen again, even in between now and flying. So I've got up and down labels there on these pressure solenoids, the cutoff solenoids, or switches I should say. And then I labeled the two wires that are going to that, so there's an up and a down there, so they'll make sure they go in the right place. Right now I've got them disconnected, so there's no chance whatsoever of the gear accidentally retracting. And over here, this is the pressure cutoff switch, the one that we're using, in conjunction with the pitot tube, and that has a normally open and a normally closed connection there, the ones I just pointed at. And so I've gone and labeled these normally open, and that's the right hand side, and then normally closed left hand side, because one of those is for the gear and the other one is for the pressurization system to activate it. So one goes to normally open, one to normally closed. Anyway, those are labeled as well because that's key in making sure that the gear doesn't accidentally get retracted on the ground as well. So after moving our CNC into storage last week, I decided to spend half of Monday doing a little bit of a cleanup in the shop there to get organised through this last little push of getting everything ready before we head up to the airport. So as you can see, we've got the shop looking neat and tidy and lots of room, so we can be really efficient working now over the next few weeks. And Jeff's moving along with getting a few more things done there on the foreplane. As you can see, he's put the little post in there for the pitot tube, and that's being bonded into place. And we can install the tube in it afterwards and run all the lines from it. And he's also been working there on sanding and just prepping the elevators there for another round of primer. He's gone and closed out, or sort of faired over the seam there, and covered in the some of those access panels that are no longer required, and just done some more sanding on that. And then here's the other one there, and as you can see some of those previous access panels are gone, and the new one in the middle for where the connection is for the push rod. And I'm in the cabin here just threading in the belts there for the harness into the little connector there that goes to the inertial wheel part of the belt, which gives you the retraction. And it's a little bit tricky because those belts are wide. And in fact, you'll see here in a minute, I'm actually not happy with these harnesses that I got. They are from the same company that makes the seats, but they're just overkill. They're just the straps are way too wide, the hardware is way too heavy, and it's so heavy there that it just hangs on that on the inertia reel part, and you'll see that in a minute, and I'll show you. And here's Jeff's got the elevators now just sort of suspended on these frames we have, so he can go and put the some more primer on those and make them look all nice again after they'd had their little bit of body work on the underside. So as you can see here, there I've got the two sides of the harness hooked up to the inertial reel, and it won't retract just because of the weight of the belts and those buckles. It just kind of hangs there. You've got to really help it up, and that's not ideal at all. So actually I still want to get a 4-point harness, but maybe you guys, if you have an experience, something that you're really happy with that you've used before, if you can recommend a 4-point harness for me in the comments, that would be great. And there on the dash there, I've got the center section in. I've just got a couple of Allen bolts just holding it in place right now, and you can see there I've got a USB-C and also a lightning connector there, so I can put the iPad and the Windows tablet on there with the sticky back thing that I've got, which actually works great, and you'll see it later on. So we're getting down the list of things that need to be done, getting close to the end. So these are the hinges there for the nose gear doors, and got some of this right angle stock from a while ago that I'm using, and just going to cut those out. And there's Jeff spraying the primer there on those elevators. So they get a couple of coats and then they're all done. So elevators primed, ailerons primed, rotors didn't really need anything. Oh no, actually they were done a long time ago. And so here you'll see soon that we're moving on to the fuselage. So there's those brackets now sort of cut out just roughly, and I've got to go and sand all and just sort of smooth them all out. So I just basically put them in the vise here and just was using the right angle and also just a straight tool here with a sort of sanding roll, and spent a bunch of time doing that. And then after I did that, I kind of realized that the hinges had been designed years ago when I first did them, and I actually had the hardware size in there as AN3 for the actual bolts that go through the hinges. And Jeff suggested that we definitely need to use AN4. So needless to say, everything that you're looking at there that I'm doing there was, a practice on the first go around, because I had to go and do these again. Fortunately, had some more material to do that, but basically did it again, and you'll see at the end here, did it with just larger, a sort of larger end on there where the actual bolt goes through. That has the two little left and rights that made up to this hinge arm. And the reason why these arms are like this is because the hinge point or the rotation point has to be sort of tucked up in the fuselage, and these arms sort of have to allow the nose gear doors to really sort of come out of the way of the nose gear there. And you'll see that later on, probably later this week or next week, when we get close to mounting those. But as I said, it's one of these last few projects that we have to do with respect to bodywork type things. And here's the little ears, or left and right ears, that match up to those hinges. And same type of thing, just had some leftover materials there that we'd laid up in parts that we didn't use or that we redid. And so here's the new ones there. And as you can see, it looks the same as the other, but there's a sort of circle around the end there, which allows for a larger sort of nub on the end there where the bolt hole goes through. And so I just got to glue those on there and go and cut them out again. And here Jeff and Devon are filling the seams there on the strake, where that overlap, just putting some micro mix in there so that can be all sanded smooth. And on the other side, they've also done the transition from the strake to the actual wing. And if I get up top here and I'll show you. So you can see on the end they've done that, and then they've also sealed off across there. Now obviously the wings are removable, so that will be broken again, but it needs to be basically faired in before and smoothed out, before the wing comes off again. And there's a new brackets here, and you can see I've pretty much gone and done those. See the larger nub on the end there where the hole's going to go through, so they're going to be much stronger than what I originally had, being able to run the AN4 hardware. And so after I got all those smoothed out, I just set up and did a hole punch for my drills there, or for the holes, sorry. And then got the centering drill and started off the hole, and then basically drilled it through with 3/16, and then stepped it up to a 1/4 inch bit and got those done. And the other little brackets as well, I got those cut out and they're pretty much done. So next go around you'll actually see the hinges coming together, and they'll probably be bonded onto the doors, and hopefully we'll actually have the little tabs that they're bonded into, have those bonded into the fuselage there in the nose compartment, and the doors will be connected. And then the last thing to do on that is just hook up the retraction mechanism, and I'm pretty sure we're just going to use sort of like a passive system that's with a spring to keep the doors open, and then like a cable or something that goes over the gear, over the nose gear leg, and so as it pulls closed, it sort of pulls the doors closed behind it. So I think that's what we're going to do. It's one of those things, when I was doing all the design, you get towards the end and you nearly have time to do all that sort of stuff, but then we actually started, doing all the development of all the tools and stuff, and I didn't have time to get into all this, nitty gritty detail of the last little things. So, and I was working on that as much as I could in the evenings, but there's only so many hours in a day, and I started doing all the CAD work back then for doing all the molds. So design work sort of took a back seat. And lastly, there's the elevators all done and primed. So that's another job out the way. So getting close to being able to move up to the airport now. Every week is going to be one more thing that's done, or a whole bunch more things that are done. So it's getting exciting. So don't miss too many episodes going forward. And thanks again for watching, and we'll have an update for you on Saturday.